When I first built my home cockpit, I expected everything to look and function perfectly, until I realized that half of the products I had were horrible quality. That's when I came upon the WINCTRL Sidestick and Throttle. This is one of the best quality products that you can get on the market for this type of aircraft, and it really does look and function like the real thing. Before I obtained these products, I was using the Thrustmaster TCA Sidestick and Throttle Quadrant, which, if you are not aware, is horrible quality. So the WINCTRL products are a huge step up. So today we're going to go in an in-depth review and showcase of how good these products actually are compared to the Thrustmaster products. Starting off with the WINCTRL Sidestick and the TCA Sidestick. There is actually a noticeable size difference between the two, seeing that the TCA Sidestick is unrealistically small. That is a bit disappointing, but obviously not a game changer. The WINCTRL Sidestick does look and feel one-to-one for me, and all the buttons feel amazing quality. The Sidestick is on a gimbal, but does have some tension and dampening, which really makes it feel real, compared to the TCA Sidestick, which is on a free gimbal, with almost no tension and no dampening whatsoever. The push buttons on both the Sidesticks do feel relatively similar, although the autopilot disconnect and the push-to-talk key on the WINCTRL Sidestick feel so much better. They feel very dampened, and it just overall has a very satisfying feel to it. Although on the TCA Sidesticks, they do feel a bit more rough and hard. And surprisingly, the WINCTRL Sidestick does actually have vibrations, which adds a lot of realism when you're flying in a home cockpit. So overall, the WINCTRL Sidestick was a huge upgrade, but now let's move on to the throttle. I started off using the TCA throttle and speed brake and flap lever add-ons, but although I do not have the speed brake and flap from WINCTRL, I did acquire the throttle. This is one of the best throttles on the market, and it just overall feels really realistic. It has a full range of motion like in the real aircraft, compared to the Thrustmaster throttle, which only has about half the range of motion, which really makes it hard to control. There is realistic dampening and tension on the throttle, which is adjustable, and all of the buttons are accurately modeled. One neat feature that they did add is that the engine starter switches are actually lift to activate. This is featured in the real aircraft, but of course is not featured in the TCA throttle. Setting up the new Sidestick to go with my Sidestick pedestal was relatively simple. I just had to take out the TCA Sidestick and drill in a platform to hold the WINCTRL Sidestick and put the rubber gaiter on. It is a relatively simple process and makes it look very nice. Although, of course, it doesn't look perfect, it looks good in my opinion. Since I have not yet finished my throttle pedestal in all, including the MCDU, the RMP, TCAS panel, etc., putting the throttle in place was extremely easy. It does not look the best yet, and I will be upgrading this in the future, but for now, it does the job for my home cockpit. In addition to these two products, I've also recently received the WINCTRL FCU and gear panel. These have been a huge upgrade to my home cockpit, saying that these are necessary to have a functioning home cockpit without having to use your keyboard or mouse once in flight. All the products shown are relatively cheap, being all under $150, and I will have links to all of them in the description of this video. Quick disclaimer, WINCTRL did send me the throttle and Sidestick, so I'd like to very much thank them for sending me all of that to review. What I provided was a non-biased review on both of the products, and more will come out in the future. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one.